Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to our Next Gen Enlarging podcast, which is powered by CoStar. My name is Davon Reeves. I am one third of the host of Next Gen Enlarging podcast. We have Omari Head, who is two thirds, and then we have Christopher Henry, who makes up the whole thirds. And I'm here with the special guest, Ramel Lee. He actually recently just closed on the first round of his fund, where he's looking to acquire hotels. And I thought that he'll be a great guest this month in celebration of Black Business Month. So, Ramel, please introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are.
Thank you, thank you. First, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and your tribe. My name is Ramel Lee, a managing partner of RD Lee Capital Partners. We are alternative investment firm. We recently launched a fund to acquire extended stay and select service hotels, and we had a successful first round closing on that fund.
Before we really get into the fun, I think you have a fascinating story and you need to tell it more. That's why we have you on here. So you actually didn't come from the hotel space. You are a successful entrepreneur, but you were a cop, right? Am I saying that correctly? You were in
Yes,
law
yeah.
enforcement. Okay.
Yeah, I did 22 years in law enforcement. I like to say I went from cop to capital. Did 22 years in law enforcement, and when you first start, they immediately begin speaking to you about retirement, and they encourage you to put as much money as you can in your 401 retirement plans, and they tell you that when you retire, it's good to do it because when you retire, you're going to be at a lower tax basis and because you're not going to need as much money. And I thought for me, when I retire, I'm going to do all the things that I'm not doing now. So I'm probably going to need more money. So I began my entrepreneurial journey. We started with a security firm doing guard services, consulting, and training. And then during the pandemic, we made a shift to logistics, where we had a third party logistics company doing last mile delivery services. And then from that point, we started getting into some real estate options, some short term rental stuff, long term rental stuff, and began looking at hotels. And then that's when I found my mentor, Davon, and uh, taught me about investing in hotels and got me into my first two hotel deals, which we successfully exited from this year.
Oh, congratulations. Oh, thank you. I'm just, words can't describe how proud of you. I mean, I'm just seeing you everywhere, just seeing the growth just over the past, couple years. And I remember when you was like, I'm going to start a fund. And I was like, oh, okay. And then you did it. And I was like, oh, this dude's serious. He'll be playing, right? And not only did you start a fund, you closed on it, right? And the crazy thing is you closed on it without even a hotel being acquired. Because usually what happens, people they have the hotel and they're like, oh, okay, now we're about to start a fund and there's rush. And you, I mean, you were able to successfully raise the capital for a fund. And so now you're about to, I know you're in the process of working with folks, working with hotel brokers of getting your deal. So that shows you as a person. That shows, especially you being a successful entrepreneur, right? People working with you, people in your community who invested in you and believe that you'll be able to give them the results that you mentioned when you were raising capital. And was able to close the fund because I don't have the statistics. There are not a lot of funds for hotels, and I'm sure for there are not that many black owned funds. How about that? Because I know this statistics I know, right? So it's like what 59,000 hotels in the United States, and then less than what 2%, 1% are black owned. And so now you created a fund that allows you to be a part of that 1%. And so I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that call or that text to be like, I'm under contract, and then the next one to be like, we just closed. So
Yeah, we're really like in the weeds now. A couple of hotels that we have our eye on to put in LOIs for. But the reason I went the fund route was, in the journey of learning, I was watching, people getting hotels under contract, then trying to source their funding. And, my thought process was, well, if I'm capitalized during the search, I
Mhm,
can probably get better terms,
mhm,
because I'll be able to close quicker than people who then
mhm,
have to turn around and raise money.
mhm,
Um, and really, I just credit the ability to raise money in a blind fund, as they would call it,
mhm,
due to the fact of my previous track record as an entrepreneur. And people just, they don't necessarily invest in terms, they invest in people.
mhm.
And so I'm definitely appreciative of the people who uh, take it, take a look at what I'm doing and what I've been doing, and having the confidence in me growing their wealth.
Yeah, and you also had personal funds as well, right? That helps out, right? Because you probably could have done it, on your own, and you wanted to bring other people in it, right? So that way you can definitely grow their wealth, like you said, grow a portfolio. You're looking in the limited service, extend and stay economy space, right?
Right. Definitely looking, so that's part of, that was the other part of what led to even looking for investors for either a fund or a particular property. When I got into the hotel business, I began telling people, and as you said, it stated, less than 2% of all the hotels are black owned. So most of my community, when they found out I was investing in hotels, they never met anyone that had invested in hotels before. So they wanted to know more. So I began telling them more, and I began, it got to the point where I got tired of having one-on-one conversations, and I did a couple of quick webinars just telling people how what I learned and how it worked. And they were all excited. They said, "Okay, we have this information, and we have money now. What do we do?" So instead of me going on this journey alone, I decided to, give people a vehicle where they could participate in the journey with me. So
Oh, I definitely do think that's that's beautiful. And the biggest thing, and I've said this, Omari and we've had this discussion a lot. And we said it publicly too, that a lot of times people think that the reason why there are not a lot of black hotel owners is because of the lack of capital. Well, just by having this conversation, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I believe it's the lack of awareness, because you just proven a point. Once you become aware that you can own a hotel, then you start seeking out the education, right? You start seeking, like, okay, well, let me diversify my assets, let me diversify my portfolio and get into, this complicated asset class. That's created wealth for so many different families. And owning hotels in the black community is not new. I believe we've been owning hotels since the late 1800s. And it was at one point in time that black people, we couldn't even we only could stay at black owned hotels. A mentor of mine who's in who was one of the civil rights leaders, Ambassador Andrew Young, I would listen to different stories of him and Dr. Martin Luther King, and how the hospitality industry was so pivotal, and so important, during the movement, right? Especially when they would have to travel and they had to stay at black owned hotels, because that was the only place they could stay. Or even, as Omari would say, I'm gonna give him credit, even I use it all the time, black people were the original Airbnb, because it was sometimes folks would have to stay in folks' houses because there were some places that didn't have black owned hotels. So just a little history fact during Black Business Month. Pretty much proving the point, right? That Omari and I have talked about, that not necessarily the lack of capital, but the lack of awareness. Would you agree with that statement on why there's not as many black people in hotel ownership?
absolutely. And it's the access, right? It's the access to the information, the access to the network, because even the information is key, right? Because without the information, you don't even bother to look any further. But also, once you have the information, it's the access to the network. So for me, my information came from you who was in the net, embedded in the network. So I got access to information and the network. When
Right.
I was giving the information, the people had it, but they still didn't have access to the network.
Mm.
So, through my fund and what I'm doing with the investors, they're now getting access to the network as well. So, those are two key things I think for getting into any industry, but particularly for one that you're so underrepresented in, is one, getting the access to the information, and then two, getting access to the network.
Oh yeah, that's a key point. Oh yeah, that's a good part because not so the awareness is needed and also having that network because I'm so proud of you because you just really just I mean, you just got in and just like I'm in it. I'm learning. I mean, you build your network and relationships. You're speaking on panels at conferences. You know, you've been in major publications. Now you're on CoStar, and so just really getting yourself out there and educating people and educating your community on hotel ownership, right? I get this question a lot. Like I probably every time I speak, I probably get this question: Do I think Airbnb is a short-term rental going to take over hotels? And my answer is, I spoke at a short-term rental conference, and we were at a hotel.
Right.
That answer, they're like, "Oh, so no, it's not going away. Like you can't replace it." You know, there are major conferences that comes in, and they need a place to stay. So I don't think short-term rentals are going away, but I don't think it's going to replace a hotel, right? So I don't even see it as a true threat.
I'll agree with you. Owning both, being in both spaces. There's a couple things that I've learned. Was one, uh, they're almost two different customers, right? They have two different mindsets. You have hotel people that will never stay in an Airbnb, right? There's nothing, they want nothing to do with staying in someone else's home. They don't want, they want the daily turn down service. They want the amenities. They want location close to the demand drivers that you get with a hotel. They feel more secure in a hotel. And then you have people that they're strictly Airbnb people. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to see other people. They want to basically take over someone else's home for a couple days, and that's their mindset. So I think, while the short-term rentals have dipped into maybe some of the hotel revenue because that wasn't as big of an option as it is now, I really don't think there's a big threat on the hotel industry as some may have perceived. Also, with the short-term rentals, they are also adding to the affordability crisis in a lot of major cities, and
Right.
and so they're regulating these short-term rentals out of business. So, that's another thing that probably unintended consequence that came about with the short-term rental explosion, was that it also exploded the affordability crisis. It was part of the reason the affordability crisis started becoming the way it is now. And oddly enough, hotels, particularly extended stay hotels, are now assisting with the affordability crisis. So I think hotels have a good foundation to stand on and will still be extremely profitable even with the existence of short-term rental business.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. I don't even think anything of it, when I talk to folks who aren't in the business. But another reason why I brought that up and why I talk about hotel ownership, for one, is monopoly, right? You know what, buy four houses and now you own a hotel, right?
Right.
Just adding to their portfolio as far as helping out with the taxes, helping out with the diversification of your portfolio, need the discounts. I came up in the industry. My first job in college was working at a hotel. So that's really all I knew. A lot of folks who got into hotel ownership, they got in it like how you're getting into it, got in it later after you've done other things. And it's like, oh, well, I want to diversify. So me, I started a little different. So that's pretty much all I knew. And then I'm going in other directions. My next step is to get a funeral home, right? But that's a different side of the hospitality business, right? But
Right.
um
The final rest.
your final destination, right? So you just want to make
Right.
sure everyone is comfortable and have a great experience. But you're getting into it, and you created a fund, and you and we hear this a lot, and you made up a good point, how now you're capitalized. So now your conversations when you're trying to acquire a hotel, they're a lot different as opposed to someone who's just starting out and they're not capitalized. So you're able to move faster. The funds are already there. It's like you did your homework, you did your research. You've invested in property. So now on your balance sheet, you have hotel investment experience. So a lot of those things are helping you along your journey. Now you're just ready to pull the trigger and to close on your first deal. So now, how can people find you if they want to learn more about your fund? Because I'm sure are you going to open your second round?
Oh, absolutely. After we identify this asset, we'll open a second round for the same fund to acquire another asset. So we're gonna do this until we max out our equity ceiling, and so that can be anywhere from 2 to 4 assets that we're gonna buy.
Mhm.
So you probably be looking at the opening of the second round, probably end of September, early October
Of 2025 or
of
2020?
2025.
Oh shucks, go ahead, Ramel.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so how can people find you? And it is not just because I know we talked a lot about black investors and black ownership, and it's Black Business Month, but your fund, it doesn't discriminate, right? Like anybody can invest who would want to be a part of your fund, right?
Oh yeah, the fund is all green. If
Okay.
if if if
My
if you
favorite color, literally.
if you believe in investing in the hospitality space, we created a vehicle for accredited and non-accredited investors.
So just high level commercial shooting your shot. So what are the type of asset classes that you're looking for, that your fund is looking for, and what are just high level projections that you're looking for, as far as your fund, for anybody who might be interested?
So I'll give you the first round statistics. We're investing in, as I said, it was select service and extended stay hotels. We're looking in secondary and tertiary markets, um, cash flowing assets that we can add value to, so that we can exit at a higher multiple than we acquire. We're projecting a 20% IRR over a 5-year hold, and we're doing a preferred 8% return with an 80/20 split after. And that's the extent of the waterfall. It's not going to graduate any further than 80/20.
Wonderful. So how can people connect with you?
They can find us at rdleecp.com, or they can email us at admin@rdleecp.com.
Wonderful. Well, there you have it. Again, thank you, Ramel, to our special guest. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will see you all next month.
Hi, I'm co-stars Jan Freitag.
And I'm STR's Isaac Colazo. Together, we are the data geeks behind the award winning podcast Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast from CoStar News.
Award winning. And if you love hotel performance data and industry trends as much as we do, check us out.
We laugh, we argue, and we always come up with fresh takes on the data and hotel industry topics that help you do business.
Hey, when Isaac and I start talking about data together, Anything can happen, and anything usually does.
Find us on costar.com/hotel news and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen. Just search for Tell Me More, and thank you for listening.
This episode of Next Gen and Lodging was recorded in August of 2025 and edited by Rachel Daub.